You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, where creativity is showcased in its many dimensions. A time to celebrate, empower, inspire, and equip creatives with thought-provoking interviews and up-to-date information.
Welcome to Unleash Your Creativity. It's the show that explores creativity in its many dimensions. Today is a really special episode, and you will find out with me why this episode is really special. Now, those of you who may be part of the Commonwealth, this particular year, there is a special celebration of 100 years celebrating the Commonwealth Countries League. And I have been given the privilege not just to tell you about it, but to actually have the patron of this very prestigious event here in the studio with me, and we're going to be talking about it. But you know what? I feel that we need to take you on a journey. We're going to be talking about the Commonwealth Countries Leagues, but we're going to park that till much later because we're going to be telling a story. I want to first of all find out how my guest got there. I'm going to give you a very brief summary of her life, and then we're going to unpack. So, who is my guest? My guest is Dr. Vasi H-Daniel, and she is a global educator, humanitarian, and community leader whose life spans decades of service across continents, from teaching in the international schools and working with the United Nations in Vienna to founding a successful real estate business. Serving diplomats, she has led with purpose and passion. A dedicated Rotarian and former president of the Rotary Club of London, Dr. Vasi has introduced over 50 members to the club and continues to champion causes like education, women's empowerment, and global health. A major level 3 donor and recipient of numerous awards, including honors from the House of Lords and the President of Austria. She also serves as patron of the Commonwealth Countries League, now celebrating its centenary. Her life is a testament of service, leadership, and legacy. Wow. At this point, I'm just going to say you are very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm humbled and privileged to be in the show with you and to get to know you better. I just want to ask you to excuse my voice a little because sometimes it gets a bit hoarse.
So I'm going to take you back and we're going to take this slowly. But one thing I do ask is that I know in many occasions you may have had your bio read back to you, things you've done read back to you. How does that make you feel when you hear of this? Because I don't think sometimes you don't have time to stop and you go, wow, did I do all that?
Well, it's true. I sometimes sit back and I do even look at photographs of the past. And I said, wow, did I really do that in this year? I was so young. And I can't believe it because the years have just flown and I can't even believe I'm 84. I don't feel it. Mentally, I'm very youthful and I don't know where all the years have gone. I remember a lot of things very well.
I see that, and those are some of the things that I admire. I was not going to say your age, but you have. I was going to leave that to the end, but it's great for people to know. So pay attention. I'm talking to wisdom, and there's going to be a lot of wisdom and a lot of nuggets that you're going to be able to capture in. Where did your journey begin, and how did your early experience shape the woman that you are today?
Well, I think my journey began when I stepped into the ship, the Sadhana, and I went to Japan. And that was when I was still a teenager, when I represented. At that time, it was Malaya and Singapore. I'm originally from that area. And I represented all the clubs. There was a competition and I won it. I was still in school. My father said, well, this is an opportunity. You mustn't miss it. So he drove me from Penang. This is the north of Malaya, where I was originally come from and born, my heritage. And we went to Singapore, which is down, because Penang is right in the north and Singapore is right in the south. And got into this ship. It took me 14 days, maybe more, to get to Japan. Now that shaped me because I was the youngest in that ecumenical conference. Everybody else were professionals, teachers, lawyers, doctors, engineers, and so on. I felt so small, but I was big, tall for my age in those days. And I just learned a lot. I was called the baby of the camp. And we built a church that was ecumenical. We all got together, various nations in this country. Now that, for me, was the platform, stepping stone. And that, I think that shaped my journey throughout, because I suddenly grew up. I don't know what happened. I had to give speeches and things because I represented the country. So that was definitely a stepping stone.
There must be different kind of emotions going on there. You must have at some point been a little bit scared, but you didn't have the luxury to step back. When did you know that you had that voice, that you could speak, you could talk, you could defend? Because that was pretty young.
Yes. Well, I think I used to listen to my dad. He was a good preacher and he talked beautifully. We used to have elocution exams and tests and as children. I don't know, it was somehow, it just came out. I wrote out my speech and then I was able to read it and sometimes look up. I think I trained myself slowly how to go about it. I think for me, writing things down, I remember things much better.
They do say what you write, you retain, because you're sending a message to the brain, and
Yeah.
there is that connection there. I'm
Yeah.
going to take a big jump. You taught in international schools around the world. Before we talk about that, I wanted to find out what happened. Why did you gravitate towards teaching? I wanted to know how that shaped you. But before we find out how that shaped you, what brought that dream alive? Why were you not a doctor or a lawyer? Why did you gravitate towards education?
To tell you the truth, teaching was not at all in my agenda. I wanted to sing. I had a beautiful voice, and I'm upset and sad that I don't have that voice anymore. And I was going to Italy to study voice and be a singer, an opera singer. Well, it didn't happen, but somehow it changed my whole career, my life, education, studies, university. I then decided, well, I didn't get a scholarship, and I think I would just teach. So I did a teacher training. Those days they call it B.Ed, Bachelor of Education.
Yeah.
And I had that as a tool for helping me, guiding me to go about the teaching. I was always a traveler. I love traveling. Those days, girls were not allowed to travel by themselves alone, but not me. I wanted to just see the world. So this trip to Japan, my stepping stone, gave me that freedom. It gave me the courage, and that I wasn't afraid of anything. I could go anywhere. So I decided to teach in different countries, not just concentrating. I wanted to learn cultures. I wanted to learn about people. I was very interested in people, what they ate, what they spoke, how they taught themselves, how they dressed themselves, the whole thing, the history, the culture. So I went from country to country, as many as I could. And with my credentials, I was able to teach in various countries. Even went to Africa, and I hadn't even stepped into that part of the world, so far away. I remember my family, especially my brothers, objecting that I shouldn't go by myself anywhere. But I just told them, I said, look, I'm qualified now. I don't need your help. I can go around anywhere. I got my own money. I went to Delhi, taught there in India. I went to Japan because I went back to teach in the country again after that first stepping stone. And I went to Ghana. I visited a lot of countries around, went to Nigeria. I went to Dahomey, I went to Lomé. I went to several places. I learned the language Chui because I used to sing. As I said, I had a voice. And they made me sing in the choir in the local language. We went to Kumasi. I remember that. And I sang in the local language, and they said, where is she from? She's singing in Chui. But just that one song I learned by heart. Every single experience Every single country I went, it was another world, new things. And I was hungry to go to more and more places. I'm a very positive person. I think that is important. If you are positive in your thinking and you just want, you're adventurous, you can do anything. But if you think of negative things and negative vibes, that is when it'll stop you from doing what you want to do.
Amazing. My listeners are going to be going, she's very quiet today because I am listening to wisdom and I want to take as much in as possible. Ask the questions, but as my listeners, we're going to all be engaging through our minds and gleaning. What I want my listeners to do is to see, what can I glean? Where am I in my own journey now? What can I take? Do I have courage? You heard that she was saying she could not do it, but she stepped out. So how many of us need to step out? Because there are so many nuggets in what you've just described in that short space of journey that you've had so far. Now, with the teaching, you've been to many countries, you've been to many cultures. I'm tempted to ask, did you have any that stood out for you? You've talked about Ghana, you've talked about Twi, you've talked about the language. I feel that really stands close to your heart. Was there any place you thought, you don't have to tell us the place, but was there any experience you think, not this one again? Or because of your positive mindset, everything was just fun?
No. While I was looking for a job in Vienna for the first time, and I went to Austria, I even babysat. Everything was an experience. And I remember to an Australian family, they had a little child. It was so cold in winter in Austria, in Vienna. I remember, pushing her in the wheel in her little carriage. And I was just cold, shivering, coming from the hot climate into the cold. It was but it was a great experience. I even taught the child, numbers and alphabets and nursery rhymes. And it was for about 6 months. Then I got a job teaching. And they were upset because I was leaving and they had this all-rounder person for their child. I still remember that, you see, because that was another experience. You're all alone with this child. It's not yours. So what did I learn? Responsibility to take the child for a walk, or the child needs to be changed, to be fed. It's just a responsibility that you must have in whatever you do, and try to do the best. And for me, I always tried. I brought that out because that was something I've never done before, babysitting. Then from there, I ventured and I taught infants. First time I never taught infants at school. I'm a secondary school teacher, but there was no vacancy. I took anything that came. I knew something would come because I was positive. So while I was waiting for jobs to turn up, I just said, okay, I'll teach infants. One day I might have children. I'll learn how to talk to them, how to teach them. So that was that. Then I got a job in the main school. So I did both. Infants in the morning, secondary in the afternoon. So from there, I carried on. I was in Vienna for 3 years, not teaching, in the first British school, which went on to become the UN school. And from there, I went to West Africa, just like that. I didn't have a contract. I didn't have anything. I just said, well, I'm just going to go. I had all my credentials again. And I meet people, I met a lot of nice people, and they were very kind to me. And went to schools, told the taxi driver, take me to this school or that school. And I go there and I just said, I'm from so-and-so place. I'm looking for a job. Is there anything going? They couldn't believe it. I was very forward. I did not write to the school or anything. I just arrived. And this is something sometimes I think back. I said, how did I do that? And they even gave me a job. They said, yes, we have a vacancy. And they took me right in. And I was paid an expatriate salary. And it was fantastic. I had my own house. I had my own car. I had everything. And then I wanted to explore. I went to the villages. I'm now talking of Ghana. I was living in Accra. And I went to the villages around me, Tekoradi and all these areas. And I saw a lot of children just hanging around, and some of them without clothes and this and that, and children running around age of 10, 11, 12 with no education. And I went and talked to the family. And I said, look, I've got time when I'm not teaching. Why don't you send your children to me? And I will give them free lessons. And I did that during my stay there. Then I formed a school. They all came. Had about 20 to 30 children sitting there. I have a special way of teaching English or a language to children where English is not their mother tongue. I teach them songs, English songs, simple, nursery rhymes. Jack and Jill went up the hill, and I draw Jack, boy, Jill, girl, and they learn, see, Jack, the boy's name, Jill, and so on. And that's how they learned English.
Wow.
And it was so rewarding for me that they were then able to sing those songs. And when I said, who is this Jill? Why is she called Jill? Because she's a girl. They were able to tell me that. So that something was a rich experience, something I learned from them. They gave me something and I gave them something. And till today, I'm sitting here in my home and I'm talking of those days when I was there. As I said, it's so clear, it's so vivid. I don't think I'll ever forget those rich experiences.
And now you're able to share this experience with the world, with the people that see you in different ways, would now see the beginning and be able to connect the dots. And one of the things that you said there, which I'm just going to reiterate, was that in your bio, when I was looking at it, from the ages of 16 to 70, many of whom could not speak a word of English.
Yes.
And you turned that around. Amazing.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
I mean, honestly, we can sit on that, but we've got so much to cover. I'm going to shift gear now, and people are going to be going, the same woman? Yes, the same woman. I'm talking about real estate now. I'm talking about business. And I'm wondering, how did that connection come to play? How did that happen? So I'm going to ask the question, and then you can fill in some of the blanks. You founded a real estate business serving diplomats in Vienna. What led you into entrepreneurship? And what were some of the unique rewards or challenges of that work?
Well, I was never business-minded. That is the thing. I was always in education, teaching and doing other things. But when my children were born, I needed a purpose in my life. I needed to do something. I'm not just going to be a mother and do nothing, and just suddenly become a housewife. Now I have more to give. So when my children, when they were born, the first 5 years, I stopped working for the United Nations, and I was teaching them, looking after them. I had people, their babysitters and all that, but I wanted to hear the first word. I wanted to see the first step of my children. So I needed to be there. If I'm working, I'm going to miss all that. And working was important, but my children were important too. I gave birth to them, and they are my treasures, and I need to, nurture, look after them. So I started, what I did was Austria, Vienna. My children didn't know anybody because they were like 2 and 3. They were not going to school yet. So I started a playgroup in my own house. I had a big house then, and took children the age of 2 to 5, and they had to come clean. Now this was for the benefit of my children. So I had all the diplomatic children, families, bringing me their kids and leaving them, dropping them, because they wanted to go and play tennis or this. squash or whatever, dropping them. It was half a day. It was from 9 to 12. So I got these children together. I took 12 children at a time. Of course, it was like a school. I charged them, but I looked after them and went for walks. We did dancing, we did percussion. I brought little instruments for the children to cymbal, a piano, or the bell, or whatever it was, a drum. And we all made music with some noise with music. and they learned again. And then time passed. My children graduated from my school, and so did the others. I did that for 2 years. My children then went to the school. Then I had time in my hands. So I said to myself, I can't go back to teaching because then I'll be full-time. I won't be there for my kids. So suddenly I was thinking, when I was working for the UN, when I was working for the embassies, these diplomats, me being one, my husband, were always looking for residences. And they were not able to find because the Austrian agents, they didn't know what to look for. But I knew, because I'm the wife of a diplomat, and I know what is required for an ambassador, for example. What kind of property does this need? So my husband encouraged me. I started the real estate. I said, I'm going to service all the international and diplomatic corps with houses, a free service for them. So of course, you had to have a license. And I spoke German those days pretty well. And I took a license. You cannot just open shop and say that I'm an estate agent. You can't do that. You have to be licensed. So I did that. First, I couldn't advertise using my name. I had to use a lawyer's name and advertise under his name. When I was full-fledged, then I was able to advertise in my own name, my own logo. And I used to collect houses, mansions, and apartments. And they were all categorized in different colors so that people can call me up and say, green page reference, so-and-so apartment this. And that's the way I did it. I did it complete. It was my own, how shall I say, idea and things like that. And we had a little office, and those days it was telex. We used to have this big photocopying machine, and it was fun. The children helped, putting things together and all that. And I'll make a list of all my properties, send them to the various embassies, to schools, to the United Nations, to the international, IAEA, Atomic Energy Agency, to IBM, all these big international companies that were stationed in Vienna. So that's how I started it, because I had time. And I was in charge of my own business. I was founder of my Vasi international real estate organization.
Wow.
And I still have all my properties. Then I started an international video library. And because in Vienna those days, there were only 2 channels, black and white. And they didn't understand German, foreigners who came there. So I bought videos, and it used to be VHS tapes from England. And we had a video library. I have those books with me still, just to remind me what I did. And the first house I sold to was to a sheikh, an Arab, because the Arab embassy sent my details to the Gulf. So people were calling me. I became global. Goodness, everybody was. I joined the World Real Estate Organization, where you can put your name there. And if you're coming to Vienna, they look for your name and ask you to buy a property. So, and so on. So I did that for 12 years.
Yeah.
Single-handedly. I mean, I went by myself to show everyone. I didn't send my secretary or somebody else. Personally, I drove them in my car, or I went in their car sometimes. Some of these ambassadors and sheikhs, they refused to allow me to follow them. They said, "You've got to come with us." So I loved it. I really loved it. And my husband looked after the business side because I'm not good at all that sort of thing. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
And I'm a very good negotiator. I was known for that, bringing prices down or cost or whatever, and able to furnish those who are looking for properties, make them happy. I did that. It's something that, I never thought I would do. So something that comes to you at that minute, and I decided to go for it. And I was able to do two things: pick up my children from school, do my real estate, so that I was there for them, and they were young.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Talking about transition, I love transition. I am a transition coach, and you are a true example of transition, of how you've been able to transition. But one thing that is a common thread with everything that you said so far is that there was a need. You recognize the need, and that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur may not necessarily not always be the person who deals with all the paperwork and the figures, but they see opportunities. And one thing that I've seen throughout what you've discussed or mentioned so far is seeing an opportunity and making that opportunity work, and being very courageous and very bold. I don't know whether you sometimes you get into it and you think, what am I doing? But you get into it anyway. And that is what I want my listeners to take away from what they're hearing. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we are going to enter into your world of the Rotary journey and your advocacy, which is another transition.
Thank you.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Well, if you are just joining, you've missed a lot, and you're going to have to really catch up on the replay. I have been having an amazing time. I have got Dr. Vasi in the studio. I have been learning. She has been sharing her journey, which has been very, very powerful. And what I can take away from everything is that there's been a lot of transition, there's been a lot of reflection, and I hope you're doing your reflection too. We are now going to enter into your world of the Rotary journey and how that started. Rotary has clearly played a big part in your journey. What drew you to the Rotary, and what have been some of the highlights of your leadership within the club?
Thank you. My father, actually, he was a member of the Rotary Club in Penang in Malaysia. And he was a chaplain, became a bishop. Rotarians, they come from all walks of life. So he was the inspiration. We didn't know anything about Rotary at that time. But as we left home, my oldest brother started it. So when he joined the Rotary Club in America, where he was studying in America, and he joined the club there, he then became president and became the district governor over there. And that inspired me. Gosh, now Dad was that, and now my brother. And I've always wanted to join. When I was young, I used to help my father lay out the communion tables for the grape juice, because as a Methodist, we didn't drink. So the grape juice in those tiny little glasses for the Holy Communion, and breaking the bread and getting all ready. I was so used to helping and wanting to do things to help others. And Rotary is that. The motto for Rotary is service above self. So when I was living in Vienna, this is from the early 60s, 1967 onward, I wanted to join the Rotary Club in Vienna while I was teaching there. But they never took women, all men. It was a boys' club. They didn't take. So I couldn't join the club. For the 25 years I was living in Vienna, I was not able to become a Rotarian. When I came back to England, my husband with the United Nations, I said, the first thing I'm going to do is to go and find a Rotary Club, which I did. I was living in Brighton for a few years when we first came. We wanted to live by the sea. And later, when I moved to London, I looked for the Rotary Club of London, where I'm a member now. We were on the website. I was invited to come. I joined. 6 months later, I was given the first task of being the almoner of the club. I said, what does the almoner do? Well, the almoner has to call up people who are sick or grieving, or if you have some good news, you announce to the club. It is like a pastoral kind of way of talking to people. As I said, I was into that field even when I was a youngster, helping my dad, with the communion table, giving and sharing and helping. And I remember I used to take the collection, the little bag round to the church members, putting, some money in it. This sort of thing developed into me, into giving and getting rewards back. When you give, you're rewarded. So I joined the club, became an alumna of the club, and a couple of years later, I was nominated as vice president, and I became president of the club. And I was the first woman of color and the fourth woman president in my Rotary Club of London. And when I was there, I saw that there weren't very many people of color there. And I brought diversity to my club. And that's how I don't know, it was kind of a magnet. I kind of attracted so many people from different countries. And as I said, I brought more than 55 members to the club and from various countries. If you come to my club, you will see it is such an international club. Every country is represented there of different hue. It's a little UN. So it was my father who prompted us, and the highlights of my Rotary. I did a lot of work. I started the first International Women's Day, which did not exist at that time, bringing speakers and music and all sorts of things and celebration. Then I did also organize the International World Peace Day. So there are 2 events a year, and I still do it. Till today, I do it. Wow. Every single year, there are 2 events. I am now a past president, but I serve as a volunteer. We are all volunteers, but I serve my club with what I do now. It makes me happy. I organize this, or I bring members to the club. These are little things that I do, little service. And I was rewarded. I had a few accolades, but one of the biggest ones that I received was a certificate. I don't know whether I can show it to you. May I?
Yes, please.
And it is called the Avenues of Service. That means in all avenues that I have been successful, I was given the certificate, merit, and it came from the Rotary International.
Amazing. And some of the things that I'm taking away from what you're saying is that people are watching. What you do is not led by people watching, but when you do what is good, what is right, what is impactful, people will see it and people will reward the deeds. One of the words that dropped at me was tenacity. 2 words, tenacity and that you're a dreamer. You said, I'm not taking no for an answer. You're not going to allow me to be a Rotarian here. But the dream will happen some way, somehow. And when it did present itself, you ran with it and you excelled in it. And that's another word, because your accolade there is a confirmation of excellence in what you do. And my takeaway, and I'm hoping my listeners are hearing, is that we don't need to wait for it. We just need to do what we need to do. We just need to be our authentic self. And as long as we be our authentic self, the rewards will come, but we should not seek rewards first. We should seek to serve. And everything you've said has led towards service. And another thing is the fact that you are selfless, bringing that number of people in to the community. It wasn't, this is my community, I want to own it. You wanted to share your community with other people so that people also could be beneficiaries of what you're doing. I really celebrate. And those are some of the things that I am taking away. And I'm hoping that from what you said, that people also are finding the things that I may not have mentioned, but they have taken away. I have mentioned a couple of skills. I've mentioned tenacity. I've mentioned excellence. What skills have you acquired or discovered you had, and how have they supported your journey?
I think one of the main thing is I'm a mentor. I mentor many, many Rotarians and even others. They come to me, they ask me, how did I become this person, this advisor, this mentor? What I've done, my experience. Very often put myself in their shoes. I may have had that experience that they are having now. And so I'm able to be more empathetic because it happened to me. And in my whole life, I've been everywhere. I have actually encountered some of these experiences that most of my friends come to me and talk to me. And there are so many people I talk to. But every single person who comes to ask me or confides in me stays in one box. Then someone else comes and there's another box. So I have several boxes in my brain, and they're all in different, shall I say, locked up, because I'm not going to speak from this, what this person told me, and that person. Your secret is safe with me.
Mm.
So I acquired the skill of making people a bit better, or telling them my experience, even making them go to therapy when they were very stubborn, not wanting to go. That is for me a big thing. It's rewarding. It is telling me that I can make things happen. I can help people with this sort of thing. And also, the other thing is I acquired this leadership, the leadership quality in me. I seem to somehow, when I go to places I don't know, I feel that I'm not afraid, I'm not scared. I was invited, I'm one of the guests, I will go. So you don't feel that, oh gosh, I don't know anybody at all there. You're just as important as the other person. I learned also humility from a lot of people. And that was so important in my life. I learned to listen more, maybe to talk more before, but being an almond of the club, I listen to people, what they have to tell me. And then I ring them periodically, weekly. I send them little messages or little cards, little emojis, or something like that, just to, oh, I got something from Vasi, something like that. And just to cheer them up. It enriches my life. I'm all for giving. Rotary Foundation, there are so many things there. My legacy is something that I would like to leave something that I started, and that it will carry on, like the clubs, the international events that I've organized. I want that to go on. And I want people to give. And I remember when I came to the club, they'd still have the little bag going around as a collection. And I said, oh, that will not do. After my presidency was over, I presented the club with a silver tray, a large silver tray, as a collection bowl.
Wow.
And now there are no more coins. There are notes, £5, £10, £20, £50 goes into that tray. Now that money is not for me. That is part of my helping the treasury so that there'll be more money for various charities. Because we don't take money from you. We actually give you money. We help. And that is what Rotary is all about, locally and internationally. And one of the main things, the charities that I support, is the eradication of polio. I had organized a lot of fundraising events to collect money for the eradication of polio. People gave, they're still doing it. And, the countries like Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, Pacific, they were still suffering. Afghanistan, India, Pakistan. And I think polio now has decreased quite a lot. And some of the countries, I think even Pakistan maybe and India have no more polio there. We have Rotary clubs around the world, and it all was started by one man, an American lawyer from Chicago. And he was a very charitable person. And along with his two friends, started doing good, collecting money, meeting, sometimes in a cafe, sometimes in a home, sometimes in a restaurant. They rotated. And that's how the word Rotary formed. So they rotated. So they called it Rotary.
Okay.
And Paul Harris was the man who founded Rotary in 1905. Ours was formed in 1912. So we are more than 100 years old, our club alone. But there are about more than 65 clubs in London only.
I'm going to pick up on what you talked about now, because you talked about money, you talked about different things. And I had to go and do my own research. It said that you are a major level 3 donor. And I was thinking, what does that mean? So I had to go and do a bit of research for my listeners so that I could actually even put something in. It says a major donor level 3 in Rotary refers to an individual who has personally contributed a cumulative total of between, they've used dollars, so you can correct me, $50,000 to $99,000 is in that bracket that you sit as a major level 3 donor. Is that accurate? And do you want to talk more about that?
I did give a big donation to my Rotary Club.
Yes.
And I think it was my way of, I inherited it from my sister and she passed away. And I thought, well, I can spare some, for the Rotary. And I just felt my legacy is, I will leave behind a lot of my legacy for Rotary, for the Commonwealth Countries League, and for the Women's Club, that is they support disabled people and things like that, education and scholarships. And these are the charities I support. And I like to give when I can. When you become a Paul Harris Fellow, that means you've done something good in the club. You get a Paul Harris badge because Paul Harris founded Rotary. And that is a big thing when you have that. Then you can continue doing more work, continue donating, continue doing your good work. You're recognized by the club or you're recognized by your donations. When you start getting a little ruby, there are 5 little rubies that you can collect, one after the other. Once you've reached 1,000 pounds, that is a little 1,000, a bit more dollars, then you get another pin, and so on. So that way, I now have got 3 diamonds now. So from 5 rubies, it goes to 5 sapphires. From 5 sapphires, it goes to 5 diamonds. Wow. So my contributions come, you can then see how much I've contributed.
Amazing, amazing. And I just want to celebrate the fact, because you've laid the foundation, and the foundation is this money goes to help, it goes to support, it goes to empower, it goes to enrich other people, it goes to support the underprivileged, it goes to education. And all of that has come from the foundation of you doing things with what you had, your gift, your skills when you were teaching people languages, when you were doing that, to now shifting it to even still doing that, but adding the financial rewards that even makes it go further. So I want to celebrate that alongside many people who are doing likewise and say, thank you so much for not just keeping everything that you have to yourself, but your skills and everything, you've allowed that to flow through to others. And that is what I call legacy. We're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we are now going to start with what we started in the beginning to keep people to the end. We are celebrating. You are celebrating. The community is celebrating 100 years of the CCL. And we're going to talk more about it. What is CCL all about? And what is happening around this celebration? And what impact has that got on you personally? And what impact is it having in the world? When we come back, we will talk about that.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Honestly, I have been taken back to school, and not just school. This is school of knowledge. There are certain schools you go to and you don't really learn what you're learning today. So I'm hoping that people have been able to take notes and really been able to reflect on their world and how their little things lead up to the big things, which is what we found out with my guest today, who is the patron of the CCL, which we will be celebrating and be talking about. But I am still doing my build up to that particular point. And before we get there, we have a few more stops. And one of those stops is I'm going to be talking about your award. You were awarded an honorary doctorate for your work in education and charity. What did receiving that recognition mean to you? And how does it affect your life's mission? Before you talk about what it is, I really just want to quickly let people have an idea of what this particular honorary doctorate is. And it was given to you from Dublin Metropolitan University for what you've done in education, women's empowerment, and the humanitarian services. And I just wanted to go back to the question, what did that mean to you? How did you find out? What was your feeling when you were told you've got this award? Can you remember how you felt, where you were when you heard this news?
I was overwhelmed. It was unbelievable to think that I would be bestowed this honorary award. And it was something that I didn't dream. So it was a dream that was perhaps came magically, just real magic. And that was something, I was very humbled, very, very humbled when I received that, because that is something that helped me. A degree, another thing added to my credentials, and this is something different, and people notice it. It helped me to get people to listen to more, or maybe capture certain things from them, because they had respect. People who knew I had this, oh, well, it's not anybody who gets that. It's an honor. It's a respectful thing. She must have done something that for her to receive this. So it gave you a little bit more lift, a higher stepping stone. And I used that to enhance whatever I was doing with education, with my charities. People listen to me when I'm talking more, although that has given me a lift. It's something, I would say it's a gift. It hasn't changed me the way I am. I'm still the same person who started off the first stepping stone she took when she went to Nagoya. It is a valuable thing to have, and it's a service I can provide using that as a platform sort of. Service means, it doesn't mean it's always materialistic. It's not possessions. It's values. It's the principles. That's what matters. And you demonstrate them with your stories, and you inspire people.
What I love about these awards, this honorary doctorate award, it's your life, your experience, your impact that is rolled into that capsule, as it were. And that is what creates that. And I also noticed, and please correct me, that there's something to do with the House of Lords with a Community Honours Award. What was that about?
That was because of my service, what I have done wherever I have been, like two services, like education. teaching people or doing things or donating or inviting them to your home to eat, people who are starving or in different countries and locally, and my service to the community. And I was awarded the Community Honours Award by Lord Stratcliffe. It was some years ago. I think it was 2011, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So everything seems a bit distant.
It has been a journey. And honestly, for 84, without sounding, this is amazing. I want your brain. The retention and the detail, it's on another level. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. That also is an amazing award. I purposely left the CCL to the end because your journey shows that there are many transitions and there are many lessons learned, and there are many, even though you didn't want to use the word challenge, but there are things that stretch you in order for you to earn the right to be the patron of where you are now. I really want to now delve into this amazing event. But let's start with the journey. For people who are hearing the CCL, I've done my bit of homework, so if I can fill in the gaps. But for you, when we look at CCL and you celebrating, before we get to the celebration, what was the trigger? What made you join? What was the fascination? What was the draw to this particular league, this organization?
You remember I said when I came to London, I joined Rotary. But before I did that, before I joined, I was looking for another Commonwealth something, because I come from the Commonwealth countries. And I was with a group, and the Nigerian ambassador's wife, she and a couple of others, two ambassadors' wives, they suddenly took to me. They thought I was an ambassador's wife too, but it wasn't. I mean, I was a diplomat's wife, but not an ambassador's. But anyway, we were talking. The Nigerian ambassador's wife was at that time the fair coordinator. She was in charge. So she said, you should join the CCL. I hadn't joined yet. So she said, we're going to my home, it's here, not far from me in Kensington. We're going to have this meeting. So everybody joined. We went to this meeting. She actually dragged me, took me into a car. She said, you have to come. I just met her for the first time. We became very fast friends. And then over there at the meeting, sitting at across the dining table, there were maybe about 15 of us. She then said, we're looking for, we have to fill in all these gaps, information, publicity. She suddenly said, Vasi is going to do that. I said, what? I said, I haven't even become a member. Oh, yes, don't say that. Done and dusted, your name's there. So she gave me that title, Publicity and Information Officer. So what did that entail? So once I became that, I joined the club, joined the CCL, and then I raised money for the education of girls, because CCL is all about the education of girls, because girls are always left behind. They never get an education. And especially in the Commonwealth countries, certain countries, like Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and the Pacific, they can't afford to go to school. There are too many children in the family. So they can't educate. They only educate the boys, leave out the girls. So now the whole thing is about the education of girls, and up to the age of 12. It's a big stepping stone for them, and they can then further their education. The fundraising events that I used to do all went towards this. I used to make the Commonwealth Fair flyers. So I joined the CCL first before I joined Rotary. I did that. I think I was there for the executive committee, and that's how I met the current president of the Commonwealth Countries League. And we became fast friends then from then on. I did the Christmas dinners and the fundraising events, and always in different venues. And we did well, and then I started looking for Rotary, because I have to follow my father's footsteps and my brother's. And then that's how it came about. But when I joined Rotary, it was very quickly, as I said, I became president. So I did this first lot of work in the CCL for about maybe 5 years. And then I just was the member. And then I was concentrating on Rotary. But I always supported the Commonwealth Countries League. Then all of a sudden they were looking for a patron. And then here this big title is bestowed upon me. And I said, gosh, no, can't take that. He said, well, you're the only one who's had all the experience and this and that. And that's how it came about. But it is a very, very big thing. For me, it's not a small thing to be a patron of any organization, because you need to be an example. You need to be out there. You need to, how shall I say, lead, maybe conduct yourself in such a way. A patron is a person whose face is required, or the name is required, or something. So you have to keep up that. Why were you made patron? What have you done, to get that? So you have to follow that up. And for me, it's a new thing now, because I just got it. And of course, we're just celebrating 100 years of the Commonwealth since it was formed in 1925, during the suffragette movement. And then we had this one lady by the name of Alice Hemming, who was a very powerful there leader. And she then went to Africa, and she saw the children had to be educated. In Sierra Leone, she went there. And then she came back with this idea of forming this thing, education, for children all over the world. And so she was the first, and then president she became. And then her daughter, when she passed away, Alice Hemming, her daughter, Louisa Service, became patron for many years. And she is now deceased. And I am now become patron. How can I follow all that footsteps? It's just too much. These are huge people who have done work. They have founded the CCL. So it's not something, it's a great honor to have that, to be called the patron.
But I would also like to add that it's a great honor that they have you, because you've come with a lot of wealth of experience. You've come with knowledge. You've come with experience in many things. So there is a lot to glean from. There's a lot of wealth of knowledge that you have, that you're bringing to the table, that they can draw from. And everybody has their own time, and everybody has their own season. So this particular celebration, what's going to be happening? What should people expect? What have you come up with, or what have the organization come up with? How are you celebrating it?
The centenary year of 100 years is being celebrated by several events that are going to take place during the year. The first one, this afternoon tea, is the Patrons Commonwealth Countries League Patrons Afternoon, held at the House of Lords in the Shalmandali room. And there'll be a presentation. The Secretary General of the Commonwealth of the Secretariat will be present. And as you know, that the previous one was Baroness Scotland. Now we have a new one. And she is the Honorable Shirley Koiko Buchwe from Ghana. So she's the new Secretary General. One of the speakers, the host, the Right Honorable Lord Hunter Wirral, who is our host. I'll be doing a presentation, giving a little history of the CCL, what it's all about. The next event that is going to take place will be the Alice Hemming Lunch. And Alice Hemming is the founder. I just mentioned to you. So that is, every year we honor her. And so that will be the second event. The third event will be the Commonwealth Countries League Fair, which will be held in the Town Hall, Kensington Town Hall, on the 9th of December. And that again, all the High Commissioners, wives, spouses take part. And there'll be stalls from all over the Commonwealth, food and crafts and all kinds of things, fashion shows, and there'll be a big draw, a raffle, and things. All the money, the proceeds will all go towards the education of girls. And it's divided into several groups because each country has a quota. They will send 5 girls or 3 girls, and they will be selected by their teachers in the schools, and they get scholarships. They get to study free. Uniforms are paid, travel and this and all kinds of things. You see, so that's a big thing that the Commonwealth Countries League does.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. We've been talking about somebody else's legacy, somebody who saw a dream. We talked about the legacy of the Rotarian who, where we are, where we rotate. We talked about now the CCL's legacy. I'm going to throw this out because one of the things that I love is living legacy, because I feel that you, for a good example, have been in control of your decisions from the moment you said, I'm crossing over, I'm traveling. What does legacy look like for you?
Well, I have done a bit of distribution now while I'm still alive. I've given a bit of here to this club or this charity or to that charity. And I know that when I pass on, I will leave behind my legacy. And I hope that will help, immensely with my contributions, my service to the Rotary Club or to the Commonwealth Countries League or to the Women's Council. I'm very deeply into those things because I think if we have a little bit that we can share and you think you can part with something, then give a little. And it will make you so much better when you've done it. Anything that you can afford, just give a little. Donate £5, £10, make it regular, that kind of thing, put away. And all these will help towards the education of girls. I don't know, this is my first year for everything, first year with the centenary, and I am so privileged to be in this era that during this 100 years that I have been appointed as patron. And I hope I will be an example. And I hope people have chosen me well. And I hope they will say one day that she did something to change and I made a difference.
And I say that is so powerful. And the reason why I use living legacy is because I want people to be able to see what they've done now and be able to make reference to what they've done now. We were having a conversation before this interview, and I just wanted to bring that in. And I think the catalyst for that was me saying that I've written a book called From Profession to Passion, and the fact that there are many transitions that happen in life. And the catalyst behind that book is that we always have something to give, regardless of age. And you were very passionate once you heard that. Now, what nugget would you like to leave with people who think, I've retired, I've done enough, I'm at that age that I think I should slow down? How do you encourage somebody who thinks they're old or somebody who thinks, I have no skill yet, nothing left to give?
If I hear somebody saying that, I will probably invite that person to my club or to my Commonwealth Countries League or to the Rotary and say, look, do you see all these people? They're from different age. And there's some of them are even older than you. It's that age is only a number. It is how you feel. It's how you think. And that is the most important thing. If your brain is still ticking, you see, once that goes, everything is gone. But if that hasn't gone and all you're talking is just about, oh, I've retired, I'm just going to sit there, I'm too old now. Well, that is, I would say, selfishness, maybe slothfulness, because they feel that they can still do a lot of things. What are they going to do in their free time? And that's what I do. You see, I'm retired. I don't have to do anything what I'm doing. But it gives me such great pleasure. And sometimes people don't know this is quite a struggle for me to get ready because I'm slower now. And the COVID and the long COVID affected my balance. And that's why I need someone with me when I'm walking, use a stick. And that has slowed me down. But my brain hasn't. So my brain is still working. Well, nothing should stop me from doing anything. It doesn't matter if your lower part of your body doesn't work or this and that, but if that's still going on, you can still do loads. And there are examples of so many people, who are injured and without arms or without legs or this, and they have won accolades for this and that, or they have run a race or done a marathon or taken part in an inter-world competition or race or something, or Wimbledon or something. People are still playing tennis with one arm or with a wheelchair there and driving around and playing tennis. So those are all inspirations that when somebody talks about things like that, you have to tell them stories of all these people. They will then start to think, well, I'm not that old after all. I still have my legs. I still have my hands. I still have my speech. I still have my education. I can do loads. So I get up and go. It's a struggle. I don't drive anymore. I take a cab, but that costs me to go get there and come back. But to tell you the truth, when I go to my club, Rotary, every Monday, despite the aches and pains that I have, when I'm there, I've forgotten all of them because I've seen my people that I recognize, friends, hugging me, hello, this and that, and the pains have left them behind. If anybody talks about pain, I said, what pain? I said, I left it behind. So that is how I function. And of course, when I come back, I'll get all my pains again. But when I'm there for 2 or 3 hours, I'm not thinking of it. I'm with friends. And I've often told the club that Rotary is my second family because I'm here on my own. My family is not here. Nobody is here. My children live abroad. So I've taken that as my second family because I have, so that is a history why I joined Rotary, from my father to my brother and carry on. And I've got other members, Rotarians. My sister won a Rotary scholarship to study music. So we're all thankful. And when you join Rotary and you get these things, you need to come back and serve the club. If you get a scholarship for Rotary or something to do this and that, you need to give back. Okay, so we have that. So we have lots of people from other countries. They apply for scholarships and we give them Rotary scholarships. So they study here and they give us speech. They come back and they would do a service there. They probably go and start a Rotary club or something. But we do all this. And it is very interesting how the Rotary, the movement or the club, the association, the charity has flourished all over the world. This is the biggest charitable organization in the world. We don't ask for money, we actually give. We whether it's a fire or whether it's a flood or whether it's lightning struck, whatever it is, we send money. When I say we, I don't mean just our club. This is the world collecting money by raising funds. And all the money is going to the various things. There is the same discipline of Rotary in every single country. We do the same things. There is a president in each club. But our club, the Rotary Club of London, was the first to be chartered outside North America. So we're the biggest, largest in the whole of Britain. And we have smaller clubs. They're all professionals and House of Lords and diplomats. and all kinds of people, engineers, teachers, doctors, all professionals. Anybody can join Rotary. You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer to join Rotary. And I think the same goes for the Commonwealth Countries League, which is run in a different way. It's all that 56 Commonwealth countries put together that makes the Commonwealth Countries League. And all the spouses help us with raising funds during the fair. And we have the Commonwealth Fair. You see, each stall raises money, and then it's all put together, and then it's distributed. It's all about giving. Doesn't matter how much you give, but just feel good about giving. Even if you have a piece of cake, see somebody who's hungry, just give that person half or give the whole thing. You feel that you've done something for the day, a good thing. Share your home. I do that during Christmas. Even before, when I was living with my family, with everybody else, opening up the house to people, open house, and invite people who are a little bit more disadvantaged.
Amazing. And what I am hearing from the question that I asked is that you have something to give, no matter how little. So there is nothing like retirement. There is get moving, because when you get moving, you get stronger and you are living. That's what I really take from you.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
When we talk about community, what does community mean to you, and how do you express community?
Well, I express that is bringing people together. And how can you bring them together? Is, for example, when there are new members in the Rotary Club, they don't know each other, they're shy. So I, as I'm known as a mentor, and maybe also a matriarch of the club now, I bring them together, I invite them to my home. It doesn't have to be a big dinner or lunch or a tea, but the main purpose of that is to bring all the new members together. And I'm a mentor, and I've mentored the people that I bring to the club. And I'm still mentoring, and I don't want them to stop. I've got friends who have left the club and gone back to their country. They'll phone me. They said, Vasi, I just can't get this. Can you please advise me on this? And I feel chuffed. I said, gosh, they still want my advice. An old woman like me, they could go to anybody else. I'm happy to give. I'm always happy to give. Whether it's knowledge, whether it's kind. If I have it, I would do it. So I think bringing people together is my forte. And I love people. I'm a people person. And I don't like sadness. But there is sadness in the world. You can't help it. But you can overcome it. You can, people die. So many people have died in my club. I've got the responsibility of, I've been phoning the family up and trying to, make them feel better, say something, the right words to say to them. And these all come from, you learn all this experience. You don't sort of go and ask, how are you? When you know that they're not okay. You don't ask that question. So you learn to ask questions, the right questions, to make that person better, and they want to talk to you, because if you say the right things, they will talk to you, even though they're feeling very sad. So that's, for me, it is whatever I have is, I think, goes back to my background, my parents, my father, how he brought us up. And I think that is the foundation, and that is education. You got someone to educate. My father educated all of us. So education, education, education. Without that, I think, you're not going to find yourself in the world. And when you can have opportunity, and you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have this and that. If you have skills, People have different kinds of skills. A brainy person who has had this distinction in this and that and has 100 honors and degrees behind him may not be skilled. So everybody has got something to give. Some with their brain, some with their hands, some with things. So that is how I look at it. And I'm thankful that I'm still walking and I'm still, despite my slowness, I still have a brain and I still have a memory. And I thank God for that each day. When I get up, I thank Him for the day He has given me. One more day. One more day. These days, age is not the thing. People can go, die anytime. Anything can happen. Accidents, illness, and tragedy, some sort of tragedy, unforeseen, can happen. So when you're on this earth, you must think what you want to do right. Plan. I plan, because you never know what's going to happen to me tomorrow.
Which was the beginning of the journey. I'm going across the ocean and you're still doing it even now. Amazing.
Thank you for listening to me, because there's so much there. I just spoke openly and freely how I've, my 84 years that I'm still standing or sitting, but I can't believe where it went.
It goes quickly. It goes, but I can see where it's gone, because there is evidence.
It was scary.
Evidence.
Scary going out in the open. When the first time I got into that ship, gosh, I was the only young girl there, all these men and everybody. It's quite scary, what to do. The ship was rolling this way and that way. It was seasick. And I went through all that, but I had help from the ship officers. But it was scary. But, I made the best use of myself there. There were things that you can do on the ship. I'm a sporty person. I play table tennis and, deck tennis and all that. And all that, I occupied my brain play and winning competitions.
Wow. I think one thing that I didn't, which I think we should slot in here, is I'm glad we're doing this and I'm looking forward to the book, because that has to rubber stamp the journey, because there are so many nuggets in this conversation that people would be listening, reading at different times, and different things would be relevant, different things would be useful for a particular season. And I would love to see that. I would love to see your book out there, and I would love your story to be read by as many as possible, because it is very educational, it is very real, and you've got case study galore. Let me put it that way. You've got case study galore. And I know because of time, we were not able to condense from 16 to 84 in this, but I believe that we've captured the nugget. So that's why I'm advocating for the book, because the book will give more of those stories that we were unable to tell here. And I'm hoping that this will be a start, this will be a catalyst for you to be able to document, so that will be beyond the Rotary, beyond CCL. Many other lives will be touched from that. And I would love to see stories of the people, of lives that you've touched in the book, as stories told by them, but impacted by you. I love that, because there is so much richness here that needs to be shared, because for me, that is living legacy, living on. Whilst here, and who's best to write it? You, so that you have the raw, authentic narrative and not somebody else's assumption of the journey, your journey. And I feel that that is why it is important that you tell your story your way, and you get the lessons that you want people to take away from you,
You're
how you
inspiring
want
me.
it
You're
to.
inspiring me.
That was the whole point, and I'm glad we got there. Number one, people that you've touched their lives, they need to tell your story. You need to be able to rubber stamp it. Their story, your story, how your stories have intertwined. You should be able to see it, hear it now, as in this lifetime now, and be in control of that. I think being in control of the content that goes out is the most powerful gift that you could give anybody, because it will be your authentic, your raw, authentic experience that you are sharing and not other people's assumption. So that should be the real reason why.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Honestly, it has been such an amazing time having conversation with you. I have gleaned, I have learned. My listeners will be going, no music, but this has been so rich. Now, I know that there may be one or two things that you may want to add that I missed out or I didn't ask, or you're thinking, I want to let my listeners know this because there is a lesson to be learned. Is there anything like that?
Yes, I was just thinking when I did real estate for the first time, and then it became bigger and bigger and bigger. At that time, the president of Austria, I think he was in the 80s, was President Rudolf Kirchschläger. He was very involved in real estate. He was very quite open-eyed and, with everything. Out of the 500 that I'm talking about that time when I was there, 500 real estate agents in Austria, 200 were chosen to get an award. And I was one of the 200.
Wow.
And I was the first international estate agent. I called it the International Estate Agency. So you can imagine there was a lot of competition. But I just went on. I had the guidance and I had the support of my family, my husband and my children. And I had the support of all the diplomats. They all liked what I was doing. And they were coming to me for more. We became friends. And when we used to go to social gatherings and events, and they were invited, this big, say it's a national day or something, the ambassadors would come up to me and say, Vasi, I'm looking for a house. I said, Your Excellency, I can't remember. I have 3 glasses of champagne. What do you have? I said, I can't think. Can I come to your embassy? It's that kind of friendliness, but professionally, made you feel that, yes, we need your help.
Yeah.
You've helped us. So I learned a lot of stuff, I think the most thing I learned is humility. I think that is very important. You don't get your head big because you've got something. You need to be humble. And then you need to thank God. And for me, that is important. How did all this happen? You must have done something good. Pray. I have faith. I pray. And it helps me. I'm not religious, but I pray. I've got faith. And I believe. God, I believe it can happen. If you want it to happen, I go about how the positiveness in my life. Because I believe, I know that I have guidance. I can ask for help. Even if there's nobody here around me, no relatives, but I can still get help from the Almighty. There's someone there. So it is for me, I've always been that way. And I think that is what has helped me.
Amazing, amazing. And we are ending where we started from. We started with talking about you being a global educator, a humanitarian, and a community leader. And that, above every other thing, I believe has been the catalyst for the many other things that you have done, whether it is real estate, whether it is looking after the children. It came from a heart of community. It came from a heart of humanitarian. And I hope that my listeners, or whoever would be listening to this, would remember that those 3 things are very powerful. We need to educate, and education comes from sharing. We need to give, which is what you've talked about. We have to be humanitarian, and we have to embrace community. And when we do those three things, the world would definitely be a better place. So I want to celebrate your achievements. I want to celebrate your journey. And I want to celebrate 100 years of CCL. And I pray that the whole program, as from beginning to end, will be spectacular. And who knows, you might come back to give us some highlights of what the journey was like for you. On that note, I want to say thank you so much. To my listeners, this is a special edition. Let's find out what's going to happen next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for having me.
You have been listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.